This is really loud in my ear. Oh my god, I don't even have this on. Oh lord. I redid so much of my stuff. Hang on. There we go. You're starting to decorate the common area? Oh my god, the common area? Let's go. Oh my god. I don't know, Astro. You're doing great. I miss JJ content. Been a day. It's been a day. Yeah. You miss me struggling. Oh, I'm good now. Yeah. Hang on. Oh my god, do I even have the I don't even have the sounds of the game. Hang on, guys. My bad, my bad, my bad. Oh! That was very loud in my ear. It better be cheese. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. I don't know exactly what I want to do today. But. I want to explore somewhere. I've had 2 cheese sticks already, but low-key want more cheese. Go get more cheese. Be a rat. Oh my god, Abby? Okay, Abby, you need to send me your cheese drawer. A picture of your cheese drawer. Because I was actually crazy to see on call. That nearly scared the bejesus out of me. I need to show it to Astro. I need to do it. Astro, it's an unfathomable, like, it's such a bad amount of cheese. Like, not bad, but it's something. Also, I don't know how the game volume is. My bad, guys. We're gonna turn it down to like here. Okay, we're fine. Everything's fine. Okay, I want to explore somewhere. Oh, there we go. I got the cheese drawer. Yeah, I can tell. It looked a lot worse. I'm gonna title it cheese drawer. Okay, Astra, there are way more of the cheese sticks in the drawer, but... You know what? I have cheese in my fridge too, so I can't really be saying anything. Ooh. What is coming up behind me? Okay. I should have gotten more when I was at Walmart. You should have. You know, I would totally go all the way over there, but I'm here. Do I think there's anything interesting in the woods? Okay. Anyways, what I was saying before cheese talk, we might have the same fridge. Dude. You guys are fucking terrible. Two packs. Good lord. See, I can't do like the cheese pull with the cheese I have. It's really sad. I had to, okay, I didn't want to open the package of sliced cheese yesterday while I was on lunch, I had like 10 minutes to make a sandwich and eat. So I grabbed a cheese stick, and then I just used that as my cheese for the sandwich. And I'm not gonna lie, it worked better than I thought it would. But wasn't as good. What the fuck? Okay, but Minecraft for a little bit, and then probably true crime because I'm going to have to eat dinner at some point, and then fireside chat, guys. Gabby saw me sitting here eating a cheese stick and then just looked at me and laughed. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yes, yes, yes! Jesus Christ. There needs to be a counter of how many times you say that. I don't know where I want to go. Okay. Is that the well? I assume. Okay, well, first of all, we're gonna run back to my home. Okay, also do low-key think that the immense nausea that I had today was just in fact from anxiety. I do believe so. So that was fun. Oh, you motherfucker! Why anxiety? I think, well, I was doing research on stuff last night that was interesting to me, but also I was at work alone for like 3 hours today, so that gave me a wee bit of jitters, wee bit. But yeah. But thankfully, starting on Tuesday, my coworker is going to be working the same hours as me again, so. Because she works summer hours, so she comes in an hour early and then leaves an hour early. But she's actually going to be there the whole time starting Tuesday. So that's fun. So that is fun. Where do I want to go? Okay, so Pedro, I need to figure out if I can tame a lizard though. Can you tame a lizard in Minecraft? How does that work with you in spirit? You were. With apple slices? Or the naturalist mod, which adds lizards you can tame with spider eyes. Oh. I don't know what mod this is, I'm gonna be honest. But I need a lizard sometime. Probably not today, but... Rawr! What the hell? Get out of here. You just came out on my... I was about to say something. Yeah. I was gonna regret it. Oh my god. That half a thing is gonna bother the shit out of me. So yeah, I want to explore somewhere before I eat. I don't know where I want to explore though. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go? Okay, what is that? Is that the well? I thought the well's over here though. Somewhere. Oh my god, one of my old coworkers peeved me so bad today. Peeved me so bad. I gotta turn this down in my headphones more. Hang on, guys. Hang on, chat. Can this hurry up and play? Please? Please? There we go, there we go. Okay. I forgot what I was saying. I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Oh! Oh! That's what I was saying. So I went to my old job after work. Because I needed to go get water, and then I needed to get the food, and, you know. And, I walk up to her line. This is an old lady. Listen, I don't know half the shit that she was telling me something. I honestly could not understand her because she was mumbling. And I already have bad enough hearing as it is. So it's like, oh, okay. So I was just kind of nodding along with her. She could have been saying the worst shit and I would have just been nodding. Yeah. That's how I do things. But she looked at me and she was like, "You look like you've gotten skinnier. You've definitely got skinnier. What? What? Hello?" I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm around the same weight than when I left. And I was telling my mom this, and then she was like, "Well, I mean, it probably helps that you don't really, like, you don't sit and, like, stand at the same spot the whole day, but, like, you're moving around, and I mean, you're gonna get swole eventually." And I'm like, oh my god, I hope I get swole. Do you know how embarrassing, like, it is for me to go to a gym? It is so embarrassing to me. It's so awkward. And then I see people that I don't want to see. And then I'm like, why are you here? And then I'm like, oh yeah, JJ, it's a public gym. Yeah, stupid idiot. Ooh. Ooh. See, Abby, I would totally be like, yeah, let's go to the gym together, but you live in New York. What am I supposed to do? FaceTime you? What am I supposed to do? FaceTime you? Actually, I've done that before. What is that? Wait. Oh, what are these? What? I'm gonna be like the stupidest person because I swear to God it's gonna be... Hello? That was definitely not what I picked up. I don't have enough free time to go to the gym. See, I spend my free time doing this now, so... That's how I feel. Thank you for the follow, Hunter. How are you? What the fuck? Don't get mad now? What am I getting mad over? Hi, Alex. Thank you for the follow, Alex. See, when I said I wanted to explore before we do other things, This isn't exactly what I meant, but I'm kind of fucking with it. Oh. Thank you for the bit. Thank you. I'll unfollow you and then refollow you. That would be so mean. Oh, it was a baby pig. Oh shit. My bad. My bad. Okay, well that was a fun exploration. Snow pigs look a little... I followed just now on purpose. I believe you. Everything for a reason. Whoa. Oh, wait, they like gallop. That was kind of cute. Highlighting all your messages from now on. That's crazy. Oh my god, I never fixed the fart thing. Whoops. Nobody redeemed fart. Oh. Alex! Thank you. It showed up, didn't it? It did. I was about to say, maybe it did work, but it didn't work the way I wanted it to. I don't want to kill the snow pigs, they're a little too cute. But thank you for the sub. Thank you. I need these pigs. I need food. Give me food. Oh! Why was I still hitting? Why was I still hitting? Can I sub for free? No. Unless you have Amazon Prime. But then it's not free. What'd I do? Oh my god. Roro? Roro Raggy? Okay, I need... Yeah, that's fine. Jesus. I was before Hunter. Are you guys just dueling? Uh-oh. Why did it not go again? Oh, there we go. Thank you for the bits. What is happening? Why do I feel like you guys are dueling my chat right now? I'm scared. Can't lose? Oh my god. This is scary. What are you guys losing at? I'm confused, to say the least. Oh, thank you for another bit. I'm so confused what's happening right now. Astro, don't join them. What the hell? Guys, stop. Guys, stop. Guys, stop it, guys. Stop it. Astro? Gay, 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 gay. Just because of that, we'll end up going back to the gay bridge. Eventually. Need to be Jesus. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is scary. Oh, the pig's stuck in the water. Oh, there are multiple. Oh, I feel like I can't thank any of you right now because I feel like you guys are just gonna keep going. This is scary. I'm scared. Are these all zombies? Why is it a group of skeletons? Why is it a group of them? Did I do it? Abby! Abby, what the fuck, Abby? What the fuck is that noise? Oh! Oh my god! Jesus Christ. Wait. I can't. Oh, hang on. I had to figure out how to link my account. Oh! Hang on. It didn't show up in the chat, I don't think. Oh my god. But I'm also trying to run away from mobs. Astro! Stop. Stop. Gay, gay, gay. You can't even let me get to the gay bridge? Oh my god. I don't even think I'm going the right way. This is my problem. I won't put my bits away. Put your wallet away. I can use this again? Yes, you can. The Chosen. Impressive. Ugh. No. Is this payback for gifting the sub earlier? Oh shoot, I'm going the wrong way. Oh my god. Or the 2 subs, I should say. I forgot I did 2. I'm not gonna lie. Whoopsie. Whoopsie. Whoopsie poopsie. Holy shit. Thoughts of the server? Great. I can actually play this season without stressing out over the Arlcraft mod. That's all I gotta say. What time is the event on Sunday? Was it 7? I don't remember already. Oh, there's a fox? Are you shitting me? I don't have any berries. This is so unfair. This is so unfair. This is so unfair. Don't start now. 7 p.m. It's kind of what I thought it was. Don't know where you're from. I am not from the UK, but I get the time difference, so we're good. When do you think I will find out if I got into the opera or not? I don't know. It's a great question that I'm not exactly sure about. Here's the gay bridge, guys. Hang on. Hang on, I'm tabbing out. I'm tabbing out. I can't click out. Never mind. Gay bridge. Gay bridge. 1 of 3. Be there, be square. See, I will be there. I love gay. I fear I'm gonna be shot. Oh. Oh. What the fuck? Why is my mouse tweaking out? It's okay, I'm sleeping in here. I'm sleeping in here for the time being. Sorry, guys. Where's your house then? It is literally like right across the water from here. Hang on. Wait. Wait. It's right here. It's a small little house. Whoops. Oopsie. Oops. I like can't click. Why is my shit being so weird? My mouse is probably bugging out again. Yes, that's mine. I need to put a sign, but I have unfortunately forgotten. Shoot, I'm way further than I thought. Yeah, that's my humble abode. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Bratty did the farm. Yeah. 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 Can I reset my spawn point? Thank you. I want to kill this squid. Can you click? Thank you. I think my mouse is bugging out again. I told you I'm pretty sure my mouse is bugging out again. Because why have I clicked my mouse twice and it did not do anything? Hello? Ugh! I'm gonna start dying. I didn't even grab the ink sacs. It's fine. Are you shitting me? Stop. See, I can't get shit right now. See, I can't tell if it's my mouse or... For anyone who is curious, I made veggie nugs with barbecue sauce because I am adult. Amen. Speak on it. Okay, I don't know what is happening with my mouse right now. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's fine. I don't know. I'll live with it. For now. So we explored the very frosty area. Okay. I do fear it might just be my mouse. Because why can I not click anywhere now? I fear my mouse may be acting up. I fear. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. See, I just clicked. Oh my god. Dude, I'm telling you, this shit is fucking bugged out. Oh my god, why is my mouse doing this? See, I think I just need to have a... a backup mouse at all times now. Hey, Astro. What am I doing? Hello? Can I pick this up again? Please? 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 Why? It's fine. It's just rotten flesh. Why is it doing this? Hello? Ooh. Do you get a lot of lag usually? No, I usually don't. No. I'll get like 1 or 2 seconds of lag every now and then, but that's about it. You've told me that a few times, Astro. I'm also wearing the headphones right now. Dude, I don't know if I broke the RGB already. I don't know. Fucking Christ. That scared the shit out of me. For JJ Mouse Fund. See, I don't even know. This mouse came with my PC. Because then I also got a keyboard that I don't use. How are the headphones? I hate to say that they're actually pretty good quality. But I do fear I might have broken the RGB already. I might just have to charge them. I don't know. Thank you, Abby, for the chosens. Yeah, no, I used to have... Well, I'm using the mouse that came with my PC when I got it because I didn't know it was coming with a mouse and a keyboard. Yeah. I used to... Well, I had a USB one. But do I know where the USB portion of it is? Probably not. Hang on. Hello. Hi. Sorry, I'm trying out some technical difficulties very quickly. But hi, yes, I'm okay. How are you? Stream's going good. Okay, I unplugged it and plugged it back in. But what have I been doing in the game? I just explored a part of the map. But that's all I've really done so far. I don't know where Alex is. Get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, guys, I can actually click around now. I'm gonna try my other mouse first. Whoops. I'm gonna try my other mouse, because I don't want this shit to do this. Please? Oh, yeah, that might help if I actually turn on the mouse. That might actually help. Maybe. I don't think this is gonna work. Let me see. Because I don't know why. I don't know. It's fine. I think I at least fix it a little bit. Tempted to take a fat nap right now. Well, it is Friday. And it is only 7:30. Okay, we're just gonna rock with this mouse. If I have problems with it, well, we'll deal with that later. Oh wait, yeah, that's what I was gonna look at. Oh! I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even realize that started a hype train earlier. Thank you guys. That's what I was gonna go check because it didn't show up on my phone. A brown bear. Hello, brown bear. A brown bear. For whom? I don't know. I shared my first bits in this chat. Wow. Close your wallet. By the way. Bear! Bear! Is that Carmen Brazato from... Is that a gay man? Hello? Is that a gay man? Where did that come from? There's a butterfly. Bye, Abby. Enjoy your nap. Have fun. I don't know where I'm running. I'm just kind of running. I also don't know what's going on with the other party. I got... Astro? Astro? Hey, buddy? Astro? Astro, guess what? Guess what, Astro? Astro, guess what? Guess what? No, seriously, guess what? Hello? Okay. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I don't need flax seeds. Click! mean that too, but... Hi! Hi! Okay, I don't need the wool. Get this wool out of here! I can't click! Oh, I just threw out wood. Just wool. 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 W-O-O-L. Wool. Just to pick up more. I think I came around here already. Yes, I did. Did I explore it that much? No. Thank you, Astro, for the bit. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you so very much. More than thy will ever know. Uh-oh. Wait, what's that? Oh, that's what I just explored. Yes, stupid idiot. Yes, stupid idiot. You're stupid, man. You're stupid. Okay. Astro! Close your wallet! Close it! Good. Keep it that way. Keep it that way. Ooh, oh, ooh, oh, ooh, oh, ooh, oh. Oh, shit! Could one lend some coal? If you come find me. How much gold do I even have on me? Wait, oh, whoops. Oh. Where are you at? Oh, I didn't really see sense. My base? No, don't open your wallet again. Duh. Duh. Bumbleclad. What the fuck? Alex, I hope you're listening to this right now. I hope you're listening. What the fuck? Southeast from spawn. Okay, well, you're gonna have to give me a few minutes, buddy. You're gonna have to give me a few minutes. I'm a little far. How far am I? Oh, I'm going the wrong direction, that's why. Huh. Haha. 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 Hee-ha. Hee-ha. Hee-hee. Haha. Don't open your wallet again. Astro, don't do it. If you know what's good for you, don't do it. Because let's be so serious, I'm just gonna end up... You are such a little... Okay. Yeah. The attitude is crazy. No, I'll just go mine. I'll just go mine. How has it almost been an hour already? I feel like I really have not been streaming that long. Astro, you motherfucker. Astro, stop. Yeah, what type do you... No! It's not meaning that way. No. Oops. Oops. Okay. You're still acting like I should know where your base is. If it's from southeast from spawn. The fuck? That's actually crazy. It's actually crazy that you would think I would know that. Couldn't hear you over the sound of my wallet. Opening or closing? Do you have that loud of a wallet? Apparently. La 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 la. I'm gonna turn on true crime in like 2 minutes. Alex, get out of my chat. Get out of my chat. Thank you, but get out of my chat. Alex, do you have a diamond? Do you wanna give me a diamond? Oh, why I oughta. I'm shaking my fist right now. Why I oughta. Jesus. Oh. Well. It's fine. It's fine. I don't need a diamond, I guess. It's whatever. Okay. Do you know of anyone that has seemed to lose a pair of diamond stompers? But you're strapped that we can talk. Listen, I don't have to mask the queerness anymore. I'm not at work. Watch him say no. And then he's going, bruh. Do you still need coal? Yeah, I don't have to mask the queerness anymore. It's okay. It's fine. How much gold do I even have? Oh my god! $420. Bruh. Alright, true crime. Let me see what I've got. And hope that my mouse works. Please. Please work. Please work. YouTube. Oh my god. Hello? Oh no. Oh no. Sorry. That's how it... Sorry. Jesus. Do we go... We're going with Murder with My Husband. Because I do enjoy this. Ooh! Ooh! Wait, you know, okay. So, I was smart and, I had money, so I subscribed to their Patreon. Sorry. Okay. I need to read this off, so I'm also subscribed to another podcast called Perfect Person. And, one of the premium episodes is called Horny Little Cigarette Easter Basket from Mr. Fix-It. So, whatever you guys want to do with that information. I already listened to this one. That's what he looked like? Oh. Okay. Okay, we're pausing the music. Is he still struggling? No. Oh my god, my mouse did it again. Hey, so what kind of subscription is this? Why are you in my home? Why did he place a fucking block? Why did he place a fucking block? Man. Fucking run away. Hello. What the fuck? What the fuck? What just happened? Why did he... Anyways. No, it's on Patreon. Well, wait, no. Okay, it's not a bad... No, stop! Ah! My mouse is fucking up again. Sorry. No, you're not. Zombies dislike it when you stab them with the sword. What are you yapping about? Drive-by? Oh my... Okay, I've listened to this too. What have I not... Oh. What have I not listened to? Mm-mm-mm. The flapper who got away with murder? No, but I need the husband too. Last time I did that, they left the server. Oh! Did I watch that? Is that the one I've watched? I don't know. Okay. Jesus. Oh my god, I have to load more. This is how you know it's bad. Oh my god, I can't click. I'm gonna leave because of the sand. Oh, the preachers who hired a hitman, that was an interesting one. Oh no, I've already listened to that. Oh! Ooh! Ooh, ooh, ooh! I have so many tabs open, hang on. No! I lost it! I have to scroll back down again. Never mind, no I didn't. I'm hoping that this will show. Hang on. Well, it's only on, I don't know what he's yapping about. Hello? If you leave because of the sand, I'll be kicked from everything. Yikes. Okay. Oh my god. I have to like click twice on everything just for my fucking thing to work. Hello? Okay, that should work. Hang on. Hang on, guys. I need to give, oh my god, I can't click. Well, actually... Oh my god. This mouse is about to piss me off. Okay, you can't hear it. My bad, y'all. My bad. Whoops. I did the media thing. Properties. Properties. Give me the properties. Oh my god. See, I should have done this shit beforehand. That's a me problem, though.
All over us, and it doesn't look good.
Okay.
You're listening on audio, can't even tell the
There you
difference, which is great. If you're watching on video, I'm sorry, but you can still see
BRB.
us. That's all that matters, I guess. I just got home from some golf, getting pretty good. I got this new Awala that I've dropped twice so far, and I paid a lot of money for it because it's a collectible. I'm a little upset about that. It's okay. Peyton is eating pizza rings, and we're recording our second bonus episode for June. That's what we got going.
If you're like, wait, it's June 30th. Mind your business.
It is June 30th. Yeah.
Love us or hate us. I'm trying.
There's always 2 episodes that come out, though. We're always getting those 2 episodes out.
It is kind of ridiculous.
It is. We need to be better at it. And so we know we've talked about it before, but it is a goal that we need to make to be better at recording the bonus episodes earlier. Spotify and Apple have been having some glitches. So if the episodes are being weird on there, that's why I got in an argument with our hosting platform the other day because it wasn't showing up on Spotify or Apple. I'm fighting for you guys. I promise. Sometimes they make me mad. Don't ask me how billion-dollar companies have problems. Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
I expect it out of small companies like us.
Billion-dollar companies should not be having these issues, but they do apparently.
Because guess what? If I had as many employees as Spotify, your bonus episodes would be coming out on the first of the month.
You'd be getting one every day. Anyways, we love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for paying for ad-free content. Thank you for paying for bonus content. We really appreciate it. Yeah, honestly, we love you guys. You guys help make this possible. Yeah, let's hop into today's case.
Our sources for this episode include 48 Hours, ABC News, The Independent, care11.com, NBCnews.com, North Heights Academy, and the Pioneer Press. All right, you guys, today I want to dig in on red flags. We talk about them a lot, why people don't see them, why they try to ignore them, what even qualifies as a red flag. They should be easy to identify, but a lot of times people honestly don't see them until it's too late. And if I were in their situation, I'm honestly not sure I would either. Like, imagine we never met, you're dating somebody else, and then something strange happens. You find a bunch of food wrappers in her car. Is that a flag? Is that a no flag? Probably not, just food wrappers, no big deal. But then when you mention it, she's like, oh, the wrappers aren't mine. Somebody else was riding in the car and left them. Is that a flag? And then you find out she's lying. That person wasn't in her car. And then you find out she also lied about paying the lease for the car itself, along with a bunch of other bills, including mortgage payments. And then you find out she also lied to her previous partner about the same things. And then that previous partner also ended up dead.
What is going on?
Is that a red flag?
Getting there.
Today, we're going to hear about a woman who saw red flags just like that and how she saved herself before it was too late.
Okay. Before we hop into it, I just saw this video, article, whatever, information, news come out that, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just what I saw, so I might be infactually stating what happened. But
Is that a word?
infactually?
Yeah.
Don't know, made it up, but it might be.
Well, I think it's fair to say I and everyone else understood what you were going for.
Okay, good.
So.
It might be a word. But Disney cruise, did you see this?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I guess the dad and the daughter were taking pictures. The daughter fell off and the dad.
Can I
Off
just
the
say
boat.
something?
No.
Okay.
We're not going to place blame on anyone, I think.
Well,
I'm sure the dad already feels bad enough and he saved her. But should it have happened? Probably not. But it did. It's done. Everyone's safe. Everyone's alive. Everything's okay. What did you want to say? Speak your truth. Speak your mind.
that's negligent homicide.
But did anyone die?
Manslaughter.
Wait, no one died.
She could have.
So attempted So attempted?
Listen, I just think if this was the first time in history this happened, yeah, not his fault.
Mm-hmm.
How many kids have fallen off a ship while taking a picture?
Yeah. I don't actually,
It's like, girl,
I'm
let's
be
just
honest,
stop taking the pictures.
I don't think many have fallen off while taking pictures.
And again, I honestly am not blaming.
I get it.
I'm just saying, like, as society, we lock our doors so people don't break in.
Totally.
Let's not take pictures so our kids don't fall off.
Yeah. But I mean, play stupid
Honestly,
games, win
I know
stupid
he
prizes.
feels bad. But that's just like the line.
At least they're both alive.
Yeah.
I was just saying it because I thought it was cool. They're both alive.
I can't believe she lived.
I can't believe she lived as well. That's why I'm saying I can't believe she fell off
How
and
did she
lived.
hit the water
She
and not die?
She probably fell right, and maybe she wasn't as high up as some of the other parts. I don't know.
4th floor, they said.
That's crazy. Anyway, sorry guys. That's a little break. Getting back into this.
So it's Sunday, April 25th, 2010. We are in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it is 6:30 a.m. when a call came in to 911. There was a young woman on the line, and she sounded scared, but not necessarily panicky. Her voice was shaking, but clear, as she said that someone was currently breaking into her house. And the operator asked for her information, and the caller gave her name, Heidi Furkis. She also gave the address, but before she could finish the 911 call, there was a loud noise. So Heidi screams on the other end of the phone, and then the line goes dead. 65 seconds passed, and then another phone call came into 911, and this time a man was on the line. He was frantically screaming, "Someone broke into my house." So the operator asks where he is, and he gave the same address as the woman had given just barely a minute before when she called 911. So it's not really clear what's happening here, but police and paramedics rushed to the location. It was a quaint 2-story house in a quiet neighborhood, and they entered through a screened porch and came into a tidy little entryway. And there on the floor lay a double-barreled shotgun. And 2 people were lying near this shotgun, bleeding. One was the man who called 911, 27-year-old Nick Burkus. He was bleeding from a superficial wound to the thigh. So paramedics rushed him to the hospital. And meanwhile, his wife, 25-year-old Heidi, who had called police before him, lay face down in the kitchen about 15 feet away, and she had a bullet wound in her back. And unfortunately, paramedics were unable to revive her, and she was pronounced dead at the scene.
All right, a lot happening, a lot going on.
So Nick was treated at the hospital for a superficial wound, and a few hours later, he was able to move around on crutches. So he was transferred to the St. Paul police station, where he was asked to give a statement about what had happened to Sergeant Jim Gray. Now, the first thing you would think Nick would say was, hey, is my wife alive? Like, did she make it? Is she okay? Because I went to the hospital. Where is she? But Nick doesn't ask police about Heidi. Instead, he tells the sergeant a story. He said the night before, he and Heidi had ordered takeout, and they had watched a movie together and gone upstairs to bed. Now, around 6 a.m., Nick claims he got up to get a drink of water, and Heidi was still sleeping. As he went back to bed a few minutes later, he started dozing off, but then he heard a noise coming from downstairs, like someone was messing with their screen door. So Nick says he tried to ignore the sound for a moment, but then he heard what sounded like someone jiggling the knob on the front door, which was inside the screened-in porch. So at that point, he claims he woke his wife, Heidi, up. He told her, hey, somebody's trying to break in the house. Call 911. I'm going to go get the gun. They then proceeded to walk downstairs together. Heidi was on the phone with the 911 operator. So this was the first 911 call we heard.
Okay.
Nick was standing behind her with the shotgun. The plan was for them to double back on the ground floor, go through the kitchen, and escape out the back door. But according to him, as they reached the entryway, the front door burst open. A man in a hoodie charged in, and he grabbed the barrel of the shotgun. Nick and the intruder fought over the weapon, and then Nick's like, I don't exactly remember what happened next. But the gun went off, my finger slipped down to the trigger, and then Nick said either it hit Heidi or I hit Heidi. That part's a little hard to hear on the tape, but either way, he was basically saying, look, there was a struggle for the gun. My finger was on the trigger. Heidi got shot. I don't know if it was my fault. I don't think it was my fault.
Okay.
I want to make it clear, Nick still didn't ask about Heidi at this point. He just kept on telling the story. Eventually, he says the gun went off again. He wasn't sure how, and this time it wounded him in the leg. And then, according to him, the intruder fled the residence, leaving the shotgun on the floor. And at that point, Nick then called 911, hence the second phone call.
Okay.
And he waited for first responders. That was his story, and it never changed. Sergeant Gray, however, thought that Nick might know more than he was saying. Like, how did all this go down? He's like, I'm not really sure how anyone got shot. But he knew Nick might be in shock. But still, he thought it was strange that the young man was so emotionless. So he started asking Nick about his marriage. He's like, okay, well, were you and Heidi doing okay? Are you going through anything at the moment? And Nick took the question in stride. He just said the normal stuff like finances and vacations. But then he added, we were actually planning on moving tomorrow. And this puzzled the sergeant. He had been at the house. It was clean. There were no moving boxes, no suitcases, no indication that a move was happening anytime, let alone in 24 hours. So Sergeant Gray asked Nick where he and Heidi were moving. And Nick's like, we're not sure. Our home is in foreclosure. We're still figuring things out. Now, at this point, there is a pause in the interview. Then at last, more than 90 minutes in, Nick decides it's time to ask about his wife. And he says, I just want to know the final answer on Heidi.
What do you mean?
He hadn't asked about Heidi, if she had made it or not. He had 90 minutes in this interview and didn't know if his wife was alive and hadn't asked.
I know it looks suspicious, but I'm trying to decide if it is suspicious. You know what I'm saying? Like just in trauma state.
Yeah. So
it's a little suspicious.
Sergeant Gray looks at him and then says, She didn't make it. Again, there's not this huge emotional reaction from Nick. He just nods and says, I figured that. So by now, Sargent is getting a little suspicious. He told Nick there was a part of him that wanted to ask if Nick had anything to do with the murder. And Nick gets pretty cold. He says, no, absolutely not. Why is there a part of you that wants to ask that? It was almost as if he was suspicious of the cop. But on the other hand, maybe Nick was showing righteous indignation. By all accounts, he loved his wife. They had been together since they were teenagers. Why would he murder her? Why would someone accuse him of murdering her? So Nick and Heidi first connected when she was a freshman and he was a junior in high school. They actually met at their church where they both had really good reputations. Heidi was known for being kind, not Minnesota nice, as one of her mentors said, meaning she wasn't fake or superficial. She was genuinely loving and
Minnesota
full of joy.
nice?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Nick was well regarded too. He was warm, confident, smiling, always. Family and friends alike thought Nick and Heidi were a pretty good match. So the couple was eventually married in 2005 when Heidi was 20 and Nick was 22. Nick actually worked for his family's rug cleaning business, and Heidi at this point held a series of entry-level jobs. Eventually, though, she got a job at a company called Securian Financial. This is a Fortune 500 company that helps people with financial planning. So it's a good job for Heidi. It also showed that she kind of had a head for business. Even so, the task of managing the couple's finances fell to Nick, apparently at his request. This was a typical spousal division of labor, and it didn't seem to bother Heidi.
Okay.
But things started to go sideways in 2007 when the couple bought a house. In case that year, 2007, doesn't ring a bell, it was the height of the housing bubble right before it crashed.
And for those who may be younger and don't really remember 2008 or were involved in it, I mean, even I was fairly young as well. To where, I mean, I remember my family talking about it, and it was a really big deal, and it affected most of us. But there's a good movie out there called The Big Short. You can watch it, and it explains everything that happened with the 2008 housing market, and it's a really good movie. Not sponsored. I just love that movie.
So kind of like Garrett was saying, what caused the recession was basically banks sold so-called subprime mortgages to people who wanted to buy houses at that time but couldn't afford them. The banks literally knew these people couldn't afford houses, so they were exploiting low-income borrowers by offering low rates up front and then raising the rates knowing customers would eventually default. Now, we don't know if Nick and Heidi got caught up in this shady practice. There is a good chance they did. And if so, that might explain why they were pretty soon underwater. Within a year, they were no longer making payments on their mortgage. And by they, I mean Nick, since he was in charge of the money. There is no evidence that he ever told Heidi that they couldn't afford their mortgage. He just stopped paying for the house. Meanwhile, Heidi seemed to think everything was fine. She might get a call from the bank every now and then, but when she asked Nick about it, he was like, it's taken care of. And she trusted him. She wasn't the only one, by the way. Nick was well respected by his friends and fellow church members. They thought of him as the guy who just had things figured out, had his life together. But the truth was, Nick was treading water at this point. And while he was doling out advice on how to live, he was secretly failing at some pretty basic essentials, like keeping a roof over his head. In the 22 months that Nick didn't make payments on his mortgage, there was not a single text or email between him and Heidi on the subject. And when the bank decided to foreclose, Nick handled the whole thing himself. On February 22nd, 2010, he got a notice for an eviction hearing. He went to this hearing alone. He signed the paperwork alone. He handled all the attorneys.
Wow.
No one ever spoke to his wife.
So, question. Do you know, I don't know if it's in your research or not, do you know if the name of the house is under his or hers or both?
I think it was both, but here's the issue.
Because it seems weird that, I mean, I guess unless
I mean, either way, she still lives there.
Yeah, but I mean, for the time, if he signed paperwork, but I was saying, I guess that he could have just said, oh, she gives me the right to sign, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, how is he signing for her if it's under both their names?
I think this really isn't the issue. I mean,
No,
from
it's
all
not, but
signs, we obviously didn't talk to Heidi, but no one in her life knew, no friends, no family, no one. And from the looks of it, it almost seems like he didn't tell her anything, including when he knew they were getting kicked out of their house.
He's hiding. It's because I think I know where this is going. He's spending money somewhere else and something's going on.
Well, I think he just couldn't admit to the fact that like they were doing as bad as they were.
True, but she was making money and so was he, correct? Like they both were working?
Yes, but I think their mortgage was putting them under.
Okay, so maybe they were living a little too beyond their means.
So the one thing Nick obviously couldn't manage on his own without cluing Heidi in on was actually moving out of their home that the bank now owned, which is apparently why on April 25th, 2010, the day Heidi was killed, one day before their eviction.
Holy crap.
No one had started packing because everyone is thinking Nick was still trying to hide the fact that they were losing the house.
This is crazy because, I mean, we know what he did. He was freaking out because they're losing the house, so he killed his wife. Couldn't own up to it. One, he was embarrassed to tell his own wife, which, I mean, it's your wife. Like, you guys are in this together. Two, he killed her.
Ego's a big thing.
Because he also didn't want anyone else to know. And
reputation.
I assume there's going to be some life insurance policy or something so he can continue to have the house. I don't know.
So Sergeant Gray wondered how far Nick would go to keep this a secret when he learns about it. And he and his team got a warrant. They went back to the house and they confirmed nothing had been done to move out of the house the next day. The closets were full of clothes. There was food in the refrigerator. And they noticed some kind of other strange things as well. The table in the entryway, for example, is in perfect order. If you remember, Nick was like, oh, I was fighting with the intruder over the gun in the entryway. Yet there's a small vase, a glass bottle, and a paper receipt that are all still just sitting on this table. Also, Nick said he was upstairs when he heard someone at the door. So investigators tried to do a reenactment. They jiggle the doorknob downstairs. They're trying to like just make noise. No one upstairs can hear them.
Okay.
So piece by piece, Nick's story crumbled. But unfortunately, no hard evidence arose. Investigators are pretty sure he's lying because they're like, the entryway wouldn't look like this. He probably couldn't even hear someone trying to get in, but they didn't have a way to prove it. Not yet, at least. So they let him go. And Nick stuck by the tail of the intruder. A few weeks later, he moves out of the house. He moved in with his brother, who happened to live down the street from one of Heidi's friends. And Nick starts hanging out with that friend, one of Heidi's friends, and her husband. And then 2 months later, the friend's sister came to stay with her. So remember, he's living down the street, he's kind of hanging out with these people. And the sister was a makeup artist named Rachel Sanchez. And Rachel was just coming out of an abusive marriage. She was staying with her sister while she recovered. And she actually knew Heidi through her sister. So the whole neighborhood, and Rachel is visiting her sister because she's leaving her abusive marriage. And she's like, I actually knew your wife who died. Now, Rachel knew Nick's side of the story about what happened to his wife, Heidi, and she knew he'd never been arrested. And honestly, most of Heidi's friends apparently thought Nick was innocent. So Rachel just assumed they were right. She met Nick on his own terms. And honestly, pretty soon she found herself attracted to him. She's just left this abusive marriage. His wife has just died. Nick still had his old warmth and confidence, but it was tempered now by the trauma he'd experienced. And Rachel had her own trauma to work through. So they began talking about it and it kind of bonded them. And they also connected through faith. Like Nick and Heidi, Rachel was a Christian. She liked the fact that Nick shared many of her beliefs. So in the spring of 2011, she and Nick started officially dating. And then about a year later, Nick actually proposed. So Rachel wasn't happy and in love. She was looking forward to a bright future. But little did she know
what a mess,
that
dude.
the past was about to repeat itself, and this time, Rachel would be the one left in the dark. So Rachel and Nick tied the knot in August of 2012, and their first child was born a few months later. They moved into a house that Nick's parents had bought for them. Nick and his parents had a deal. They would put their names on the mortgage, but he would make the payments directly to them, and he would also pay the property taxes to the county. Again, Nick takes charge of the couple's finances. This time, however, he wants even more control. Nick told Rachel he didn't want her working now that they had a baby. He preferred her to stay at home, but Rachel was used to having a career, so this might not have been what she wanted, but she could tell it was important to Nick to feel like he was taking care of them, so she agreed. She also agreed, as Heidi once had, to let Nick control all of their money, even though she knew he had had trouble with this in the past. It became pretty common knowledge. She'd heard that Nick and Heidi's house was in foreclosure before Heidi died. Nick justifies this by saying he was young, he didn't know how to manage money, and so Rachel decides he deserves another chance. So before long, this once professional woman who had recently gone through a traumatic divorce had become a stay-at-home mom with nothing but faith between her and financial disaster.
No.
And the faith kept Rachel going for years, even when she started to notice that Nick wasn't
Time out.
really...
Sorry to interrupt you. We've been going for years, so you're saying her murder still hasn't been solved. And he's out here.
They just think it was an intruder.
And he's about ready to murder somebody else.
Well, the problems start small. Red flags, little flags, okay? For instance, Rachel kept finding food wrappers in Nick's car. Now, Rachel and Nick didn't have a lot of money, so Rachel was worried. She's like, why are you buying all this junk food? Like, why are you just spending money every day on junk food? She tried to talk about it, and Nick was like, oh, it's not mine. It's a friend who's been riding with me. The wrappers are his.
Bro.
Now, Rachel's suspicious, but she lets it slide.
A loser.
And then she started getting calls from medical collections agencies.
Oh, no.
So she's like, there's obviously something on here. If someone has called a collections agency on you, probably means you've owed them money for quite a while. It can also have a pretty detrimental impact on your credit. So Rachel's very concerned. So she goes to her husband. She's like, hey, like collections is calling us. Nick won't own up to anything. He's like, there's just got to be a mistake. Or he's like, I already called someone to fix it. They haven't called back. He's just giving her the runaround.
Okay.
Rachel knew in her heart he wasn't being honest with her, but she didn't know what to do about it. I mean, Nick's her husband. He's the father of her children, the man she married. She's not only made a promise to him, she made a promise to God to love Nick until death do they part. She didn't want to give up on her marriage because of a little bit of money issues. And there was another thing. Rachel and her kids were living in a house that Nick's parents owned. She decided to separate. She doesn't get part of that house.
Yeah.
So she kept her worries to herself, and she tried to focus on good things about her husband, relying on faith to see them through. And so 6 more years pass by. It is now
6 years.
2018, and Nick and Rachel now have 3 kids. He was still working for his parents' business. She had started working part-time from home. Things should have been fine. And yet, for reasons she couldn't explain, Rachel just felt anxious. And honestly, by 2018, she would often find herself thinking about Heidi, especially the day Heidi died. She would sometimes try to talk to Nick about it, but he never shared anything he hadn't told the police. His answers were short and vague. He would often say he didn't know, he didn't remember. And at first, this was pretty frustrating to Rachel. She wanted to understand her husband better, but over time, Nick's claims that he didn't remember anything just started to become unsettling. Rachel knew that Nick had a tendency to lie about little things, so she started to wonder, is he lying about big things too, like the day his wife was murdered? She didn't want to think her husband would hide anything important from her, but she couldn't ignore the feeling that he already had been. So in early 2018, Rachel starts investigating her own husband. She didn't call it that herself. She was kind of like, I just started paying more attention and looking around. But that's basically what she was doing. She was keeping her eyes open in case anything appeared, and one day something does. Rachel finds a document that has been hidden in Nick's sock drawer. She opened it and discovered it was a letter stating that the property taxes on their house had not been paid, and so the house was therefore going into foreclosure. She's like, am I experiencing deja vu from his first wife?
I have to say something real quick just about this. I worked at a one of my first jobs out of college. It was in the real estate market, and we dealt with just past payments and foreclosures. No, I didn't foreclose anyone's house. Don't worry. But like usually, depending on the state, right? There's different laws in each state. But depending on the state, I mean, sometimes like foreclosures will take like 5, 6, 7 years. So it's like him not paying his property taxes. It had to have been for years. It isn't just like, oh, I didn't pay my property taxes.
Pay 1 month.
Or yeah, this year. It's like, no, it's probably been like 3, 4 years. It's not just like oh, you're screwed, man. You messed up. We're taking your house. It usually doesn't work up like that. Again, depending on which state you're in.
So Rachel is terrified. She knows that her husband is lying to her, just like what happened before Heidi had died. And not only had Nick lost their home, but he had been keeping it a secret from her. This is huge. You can't just not tell your spouse that you're about to lose your home. Rachel remembered all the times she would ask Nick about money. He would lie or dodge her questions. And she's thinking, he must have done the same thing to Heidi right up to the moment they were going to be evicted.
And she died.
And she died.
Somehow.
She knew she had to find out. So one early morning while Nick was still asleep, she packed her 3 children in the car and she drove them to a caregiver's house to stay. Then she went back home to confront her husband. Such a mom move. Such a mom move to be like, I'm going to go home and have a really tough, hard conversation with my husband, who I'm already starting to question. I'm going to get my kids out of the house first.
So smart. So smart. I love it.
So she shows him the letter, but before, Rachel took one last precaution, okay? She took out her phone and started the voice recorder and then hid the recorder. So she's like, I'm going to record. Not only am I going to have this conversation, I'm going to record it. Then she tells Nick they need to talk and she confronts him. She's like, hey, I found this like eviction notice basically from the property taxes. At first, he tries to make excuses. There's no getting out of it, though. She had hard proof. She's like, you've been sent a letter and you've been lying to me. She said Nick had lied to her over and over. And the fact it was just so easy for him to do made her think, you kind of have maybe lied about some other stuff. But Nick finished her sentence and said, are you saying I could have lied about murdering my wife? And Rachel didn't know what to say at first. She tried to backpedal. She's like, no, you could just lie about other things. But Nick knew what she meant. He repeated, that I could murder my wife? And Rachel's like, yeah, actually. There was a brief pause.
Dude, that's scary. That's so scary.
Must have felt like the longest silence. She knew she was alone with a man that she knew was a liar. And not just a liar, but
a killer.
He kind of led a double life. A lot of people thought Nick was wise and honest and caring. But there was another Nick, one who wasted money and lost homes and lied about it and maybe killed to cover it up. So finally Nick groaned, but he in the recording never denies the accusation. He just looked at Rachel in anger, kind of like, how dare you say that? And then the conversation was over. Like the mortgage bills he couldn't pay, Nick seemed to think if he just ignored Rachel's feelings, they would go away. Obviously they don't. So after that day, Rachel was just more confused and frightened than ever. She didn't trust her husband anymore, but she also didn't trust herself. Rachel couldn't prove that Nick was a killer. What if he wasn't? She's just overreacting and blaming someone. And once again, Rachel relied on her faith to give her the answer. So she prayed to God, asking him what to do about her marriage. And not long after that, she read something in a devotional book about putting one's troubles into God's hands. And Rachel interpreted that passage as God's way of telling her to just lay down the burden of her marriage. So she did. That same year in 2018, Rachel filed for divorce.
Okay.
She didn't know what would happen, but she trusted that God would take care of everything. And whether you agree with faith or not, one thing is certain. Forces were still at work on Heidi's case, and after all these years, something was about to come out of it. So since Heidi's death in 2018, the investigation into her murder had faltered. There was a brief burst of activity in 2015. Someone saw a sketch of the supposed intruder, a sketch, by the way, that had been drawn by an artist Nick hired at his attorney's recommendation. The witness said they recognized him. They identified him as a prolific burglar known for breaking into houses in the early morning hours. Same look, same MO. Investigators were like, hey, maybe he was telling the truth. But then they discovered that that guy was in jail the day Heidi died. They're like, okay, he has pretty airtight alibi. So in the years to come, they get no more tips. The case was placed on the back burner. But around 2018, something changed. Sergeant Nikki Sipes of St. Paul PD had been a beat cop in Nick and Heidi's neighborhood at the time of the murder. She'd always thought there was just something off about the case. And now Sergeant Sipes was a detective. She decided to act on her suspicions. So in 2019, she reopens, and brought in the big guns, the FBI. Sergeant Sipes worked with the Bureau's Center of Ballistic Testing using a scale model of Nick and Heidi's house. They were able to prove that the shot that killed Heidi was most likely not accidental.
Okay.
It was a deliberate shot fired from a weapon held at shoulder height. So not like a shotgun being fought over, but one that was aimed. And honestly, the aim was Nick's height. And there was more. Sergeant Sipes also asked the FBI to reconstruct sound data from Heidi's 911 call to find out if there was a third person in the house. Remember, Heidi's call was cut short by a loud bang, and investigators obviously think that's the gunshot, which would mean that Nick was fighting with the intruder while Heidi was on the phone with 911. So you should be able to hear a fight happening between two people in the background. And after analyzing the recording, the FBI found no evidence of a third person in the house, no sound at all of a different person. And this led to the logical conclusion that there were probably only 2 people in the house when Heidi was murdered, Heidi and Nick.
Yep.
And there was still more. Sergeant Sipes also learned that Nick had remarried after Heidi's death, and his second wife, Rachel, had just divorced him in 2018. So thinking there might be a reason for that, she contacts Rachel, and Rachel was hesitant to talk at first, but eventually she talks, she meets with Sergeant Sipes and explains this is why we got divorced, and she played her the recording of their confrontation.
And the fact that you're lying was so easy for you to do in front of me over and over and over makes me think
that I could murder my wife.
That you could lie about something.
That I could murder my wife.
Yes.
That was all the detective needed to hear. Sergeant Sipes shared the recording with the county attorney, and they decided it was time to take action. So in May of 2021, a SWAT team swarmed Nick's house. They arrested him and charged him with second-degree murder. Nick was indicted by a grand jury, and after hearing the evidence and Rachel's recording, the grand jury actually upped the charges to first-degree murder.
Wow, this escalated quickly.
So they're saying, no, it was premeditated. Yeah. He planned this whole thing. Now, Nick's attorney successfully argued against using the recording in a trial. He said the fact that Nick had lied to Rachel proved nothing about his relationship with Heidi, and the judge agreed. However, the prosecution made a pretty solid case without it. They argued that Nick did have a motive for his first murder's wife, and it was shame. He had gone to great lengths to cover up their eviction. And when it got to the point that he could no longer hide it, he gave it one more try. A friend of Heidi's testified that Nick had told her they were victims of identity theft in the amount of almost $200,000. This was a lie. And when it failed to prevent the inevitable, the prosecution said Nick murdered Heidi rather than admitting he was not the guy he was pretending to be. This argument may or may not have convinced the jury, but the prosecution's case didn't rest on motive. It used forensic evidence, the reconstructed audio, the ballistics report. They're like, you can't hear a third person. There was no third person. They also made a model of the house and showed how impossible it would have been for Heidi to be shot in the way Nick said it happened. And they had DNA evidence. Nick's, and only Nick's DNA was on the gun.
Yep.
If you were fighting with a person, there would have been a third DNA on the gun, as well as photos that showed no signs of forced entry. So piece by piece, they built a case that convinced the jury. On February 10th, 2023, after 4 hours of deliberation, they declared Nick guilty of first-degree murder. Now, at his sentencing hearing, Nick refuted the charge. He said, quote, "I do maintain and I will maintain to my dying breath my innocence of this crime." He was sentenced to life without parole, which in Minnesota means the case will automatically be appealed, so he will have a chance to keep maintaining his innocence. Meanwhile, some relief has come to Heidi's family and friends, a group that now includes Rachel. Rachel became friends with Heidi's parents during the trial, and she continues to share her story in the hopes that it will help others see red flags before it's too late.
Crazy.
And she also hopes standing up for herself has made Heidi proud. And that is the murder of Heidi Firkus.
Crazy that it took so long to solve it, but I mean, I guess they really, I mean, it's hard, right? They didn't want to go to trial and then lose the trial.
Yeah.
And then I mean, he's definitely not.
I mean, they just
caught.
had no forensics. They needed those forensics.
Time.
Yeah.
It's so, okay, this is so insane to me that she was murdered because of his ego.
Mm-hmm.
Because of his ego. Because
well, he went to church.
Because he couldn't just be like, hey, we can't afford this anymore.
They couldn't let everyone at church
know.
That's
mind-blowing and so sad.
Over money.
It also goes to show that he's got other issues going on, because you don't love someone. Like, no. Like, nope.
You're getting evicted, so you have to kill your wife?
Crazy. I can't even comprehend that.
Low-key, was he gonna do it again?
For sure. I think he probably was.
He still hadn't told her.
Nope.
She found out.
Mm-hmm. Insane.
All right, you guys, that is our bonus episode. We love you so much, and we will see you next time. I love it.
I hate it.
Goodbye.
What the actual fuck? That was fucking... What? Dude. I don't understand people. The more I listen to true crime, the more I don't understand people. They truly find new ways to baffle me every single time. I gotta remember that one. Antifreeze. Hello.
You're listening to an Ono
I
Media
want it.
podcast.
I want this one.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Peyton Moreland and my husband is Garrett Moreland, who happens to be on a birthday trip. So sadly for you, he is not here for our first
Why is
bonus
it such
episode
low
of this month, but
quality?
he will be here for the next one. Before we
Thank
jump
you.
into it, thank you so much for continually supporting this
not want
show. You have no
Did
idea
not
what
want
it means.
it.
Truly, 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 we could
Did not
not
want
keep
it.
this podcast running without you guys. So thank you for your support. Thank you for the continual love. We love you forever too. Now, since Garrett isn't here, that basically means we're skipping 10 seconds and getting right into this Murder with My Husband bonus episode. Now, a quick trigger warning. This episode contains discussions of suicide and murder, so please listen with care. Now, did you know that if you hired somebody to do all the work that a stay-at-home mom does, it would probably cost over $140,000 a year? And that's how much work a mother does at home. If she also works outside the house and has a male partner, she most likely still does the majority of the housework and childcare. 60% of women say they take the lion's share of household chores, and 74% say they handle the kids' activities and schedules. Add to this fact that women have to do 18% more work on average to get the same pay as their male colleagues. And you come away from it feeling like women really have to do it all. And that was definitely true for Kenosha, Wisconsin resident Julie Jensen, who not only had to cook, clean, volunteer, take care of the kids, and work outside the home, she also had to investigate her own murder.
Huh?
Julie Jensen was actually born Julie Carol Griffin on February 26, 1958. She was the only girl of 6 children. Now, by all accounts, her siblings adored her. Julie's brother, Paul,
Her mom was
referred to
popping out
Julie as
babies.
an angel. And to be clear, he didn't just say that because she was his sister. Julie was kind, loving, and generous to everyone. She was also a devoted Christian who believed in honoring God and family. She strove to be a good person and to do her best at everything. Now, Julie graduated from high school with straight A's back in 1976. And then she got a part-time job at Sears, apparently trying to save up for college. And while working at the department store, she met a guy named Mark Jensen. Now, Mark was tall, good-looking, blonde, and had a winning smile. And like Julie, he was also a hard worker. So it's not surprising that Mark soon caught Julie's eye. They ended up going to college together at the University of Wisconsin in 1981. They started dating. And then that same year, Julie dropped out of college, but she didn't give up on having a career. She went on to obtain her Series 7 license. Now, the Series 7 is a certification that allows people to sell stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So basically, Julie was taking steps to become a stockbroker, and that's not an easy thing to do. You have to pass a couple of tough exams, and you also have to find a sponsor, meaning a licensed firm has to vouch for you. Not only did Julie manage to do all of that successfully, but she also did it as a woman. And that must have been incredibly rare at the time, given that even now, over 85% of stockbrokers are still men. So Julie was headed for a promising career in finance by the early 1980s.
That hair kind
And
of
as
fire.
it happens, her boyfriend
gonna
Mark
lie.
was too. He'd gone on to graduate from the University of Wisconsin.
Okay, he's
and like
low-key
Julie,
giving
he
me
got
Jeffrey
his
Dahmer.
Series 7 license. And soon, Mark
I
found
don't like
work
that.
as a stockbroker at a regional firm. Now, Julie did not end up becoming a broker. Instead, she got a job as an administrative assistant at a brokerage. There might have been some unfair gender dynamics at play, but if so, Julie didn't let that affect her relationship. She and Mark actually went on to get married in 1984, and they bought a beautiful house in a suburb of Kenosha called Pleasant Prairie. Then in 1990, when Julie was now 33 years old and Mark was 32, the Jensens welcomed their first child. Well, that's not entirely accurate. Julie welcomed their first child. Mark, as it turned out, had never actually wanted kids, and according to what Julie told her brothers, he refused to help her care for their newborn son because of this. So not only was Julie working outside the house, she was also responsible for all of the child care
The
and
side
the
I'm
cooking
giving right
and
now is
still the
crazy.
cleaning. As always, she worked hard and did
Yes,
her
I do the
best, but
cooking,
she
yes, I do
found
the
it all
cleaning.
a little too much to handle. So a few months after her son was born, Julie actually decided to leave her job and become a stay-at-home mom. Unfortunately, that didn't relieve the strain on her marriage. Julie started to feel depressed at times. Mark seemed unhappy as well. So in June of 1990, they started seeing a marriage counselor. Julie shared her sadness over the fact that Mark wasn't willing to bond with the baby. And Mark, on the other hand, said that Julie spent too much time with the child. He
What?
felt that was the problem in the marriage,
Oh,
their
hell no.
child. The counselor,
Well, that's crazy.
somewhat siding with Mark, determined that Julie just had postpartum depression. He suggested a compromise. Julie should go back to work part-time. That way her life wouldn't be totally wrapped up in the baby. She would be less depressed. And presumably she and Mark would live happily ever after. Now,
With the
once
kid.
again, Julie did her best. She got a part-time job in Chicago, over an hour's drive away. She started commuting between 2 and 3 hours a day while working 20 hours or more a week. And she was still doing most of the cooking, cleaning, and childcare. Something had to give. And about 1 year later, it did. One weekend in 1991, while Mark was out of town, Julie invited a coworker named Perry Tarika to the house for dinner. Perry accepted the invite, and they ended up spending the entire weekend together while Mark was out of town. At least some of the time was spent in bed. And this affair lasted a total of 2 days. At that point, Mark came back home. Julie put an end to it and actually confessed to her husband. Now, Mark took the news poorly. He demanded that
Ow.
Julie quit her job, and he
Ow.
also started secretly recording Julie's phone calls.
Oh, that's
He
crazy.
got her on tape discussing the affair, and he told her that if she ever tried to divorce him, he would use the recordings as proof of the affair to get full custody of their child that he didn't want. Now, Julie loved her baby more than life. She actually did file for divorce that year, but presumably afraid of Mark's threat, she ended up changing her mind. Instead, she just started working harder to be the perfect wife and mother. Julie desperately hoped that someday Mark would find a way to forgive her, but he never did. Soon, Julie realized she had a more pressing problem because a few months after her short affair ended, she discovered her family had a stalker. Now, following that 2-day affair in 1991, Julie essentially became a prisoner in her own home, more than she already was. Not only did Mark make her quit her job, but he also demanded to know where she was at all times. He made her carry a cordless phone if she went outside. He started tracking her mileage to make sure she didn't go anywhere without telling him.
What?
Yet, despite her husband's efforts to monitor everything, strange things started happening at the Jensen home. First, they started finding pornographic photos on the lawn and on their cars. And then Julie started getting anonymous phone calls, and the caller would never speak, but sometimes she could hear him breathing heavily before he hung up. Now, after a while, they started getting emails with more pornographic photos attached. Basically, it was the 90s version of an unsolicited pic. Eventually, the photos started showing up on Mark's car at his office, and Mark thought
What a
he
loser.
knew who was harassing him. Perry, the man Julie had slept with. Julie, who still felt ashamed and guilty over that weekend affair, agreed. She started tracking the incidents in a logbook with dates and times, and she also reported everything to the police. One officer said she called him at least 50 times over 7 years to report incidents of harassment. That's how long this lasted. And unfortunately, there wasn't much the police could do. They did look into Perry, and they found that he was actually now living in another state. So with no other leads, police suggested that the Jensens just hire a private investigator.
Bruh.
And in 1996, 5 years after the harassment had started, they did. Now, based on Julie's logbook, she felt the best chance of catching the stalker would actually be at Mark's office. Her records showed the photos usually appeared on Mark's car on Friday afternoons between noon and 5 p.m. So the PI posted up across the street from Mark's office the following Friday, but no one showed up and no photos appeared. A few days later, Julie called the PI to terminate the surveillance. And the detective thought this was strange, but it wasn't his place to question why. That answer would only become clear decades later. And sadly, by that time, Julie Jensen would be dead. So strange things continued to happen to the Jensens through 1998. By that time, Mark and Julie actually had a second son. Julie's life revolved fully around her husband and children. She loved them as hard as she could. She actually called them her 3 Ds, Daddy, Douglas, and David. But there was another D haunting
Sorry,
Julie, and it
Douglas.
was depression. As hard as she tried to be perfect,
Dude.
Julie was still haunted by shame over the affair. She knew Mark had never forgiven her for it, and that
I had to
killed her
hold back a
inside.
joke.
She also felt that Mark didn't love her anymore. And sadly, Julie
Oh,
was
man.
right. While she was home trying to earn forgiveness
He was
and
out
be the
having an
perfect
affair.
person, Mark was now the one having an affair.
Ooh,
And his version
boom.
was a lot more serious than a weekend affair. In September of 1998, Mark started sleeping with a coworker named Kelly Labonte. Now, Kelly was a newlywed. She'd actually just gotten back from a honeymoon a week
Okay.
earlier.
What?
But apparently Mark won her over pretty fast. They soon started trading emails about getting rid of their spouses. Kelly later said she thought they were talking about divorce, but Mark clarified that he had something else in mind.
Death.
Now, 39 years old and a successful stockbroker, he'd been spending a lot of time online for work. And in that process, he had discovered websites that taught people how to murder their spouses without getting caught.
Hello?
And they'd
What?
apparently captured his imagination. So
Hmm.
November of
What?
1998, Mark went
Huh?
out of town for a conference. And while he was there, he got drunk with a coworker named Ed Klug. Now, Mark and Ed started griping about their wives and how they'd be better off without them. Ed, of course, is thinking that he and his coworker Mark are talking about divorce, but Mark took things further once again. He told Ed there were ways to poison your spouse undetected using household items like pool chemicals, Benadryl, or even ethylene glycol, which is the main chemical component of antifreeze. Now, at the time, Ed didn't take Mark seriously. If he had, he probably would have saved a woman's life. Mark's rant that night was more than just a drunken ramble, more than just complaining about your spouse. He was actually confiding part of his plan. Other parts included telling friends and coworkers that Julie was unwell, she was depressed, she was losing weight, she was unable to eat. And these things were partially true. But Mark left out the fact that he himself was the cause of this. All these years of walking on eggshells were wearing Julie down. She was tired of being stalked, yet feeling more paranoid than ever. She had been sick. In fact, while Mark was at the conference with Ed, Julie was so sick that when she vomited on the floor, she didn't even have the strength to clean it up. She couldn't understand why all these bad things were happening. Until finally, a couple weeks later, it all became pretty clear. On November 21st,
He'd been poisoning her.
1998, Julie found a list of items in Mark's day planner that could be used to commit murder. Among other things, the shopping list included drug supply and syringe, and suddenly pieces started falling into place. Julie remembered how angry Mark had been with her for her affair. She also thought of how much time he spent on the internet, maybe looking at things he didn't want her to see. And she recalled how sick she had gotten a few weeks earlier while he was out of town, for apparently no reason. And all of this led Julie to an overwhelming conclusion. She decided her husband was trying to poison her, and she didn't want to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And after all the years she had spent reporting harassment to the police and receiving little help, she was concerned that she might be overreacting. So, just like she did with the stalker, Julie started documenting everything. She took pictures of his shopping list, and she wrote a letter to the police. And the letter said, "I took this picture and am writing this on Saturday, 11/21/98 at 7 a.m. This list was in my husband's business daily planner, not meant for me to see. I don't know what it means, but if anything happens to me, he would be my first suspect." The letter went on to explain why she suspected Mark, how their relationship had deteriorated, how he'd never forgiven her for the affair. Julie summed up that she hoped she was wrong and that nothing would happen. Her whole life, she wrote, was her husband and her children. And with that, she sealed the letter and the roll of film. She took it next door to her neighbors, Ted and Margaret's house, and she asked them to hold on to the package. She told them, "If anything ever happens to me, please give this to the police." Now, the neighbors were worried. They had been neighbors with the Jensens for years, and they knew that all was not well with the couple's marriage, but they decided to honor Julie's request and keep the envelope a secret. And that turned out to be a decision they would deeply regret. Because just a little over a week later, Julie got horribly sick at home
Yeah.
again.
Okay. I need to say something really funny. So, tell me why it's storming in the Minecraft world. While I'm trying to do this. Anyways.
She started vomiting. She was having diarrhea, trouble breathing. And it got so bad that the morning of December 3rd, 1998, Julie couldn't even get out of bed to say goodbye to her kids before they went to school. Douglas, who was now 8, and David, who was 3, were worried about their mom. And Mark promised the boys that if she wasn't feeling better by the time they got home from school that day, he would take her to the hospital. So the kids went to school. Mark left the house a short time later. And around 4 p.m., he returned, bringing the boys home from school with him. Julie was lying in bed face down on the pillow when they got home. Her left arm was twisted underneath her. Her body was stiff and cold. And Mark discovered she was no longer breathing. So he called 911. Now, a few minutes later, first responders arrived. And Mark and Julie's neighbors, Tad and Margaret, saw the emergency vehicles. They didn't know for sure what had happened, but all they could think about was the package that Julie had given them. So Margaret and Tad delivered Julie's letter to the police department, honoring her last request. And when officials read it, they realized it was Julie's voice from the grave telling them how to investigate her murder. There was just one problem. They weren't sure they were dealing with a homicide. Mark said his wife had been struggling with depression, and a few days earlier, she had actually seen a doctor about it. He had prescribed an antidepressant called Paxil. Julie might have taken too much of it, or maybe she took that and something else to end her life. Officials seemed inclined to agree that Julie's death had been a suicide, based on everything that happened before. But when District Attorney Bob Jamboys arrived, he disagreed. Bob noticed a few things about Julie's body that seemed off, like the way her arm was twisted underneath her. No one would fall asleep like that. And he also noticed that there were no drugs around her. Even the Paxil bottle was in the kitchen. Mark had told detectives Julie was too sick to get out of bed that morning, so it seemed unlikely to him that she got up, went to the kitchen, took a fatal overdose of pills, and then got back in bed. And the more Bob thought about the situation, the stranger it seemed. With her letter and everything going on, his instincts told him he needed to dig deeper. Now, unfortunately, police didn't have a warrant to search the property. So Bob told Mark that investigators needed his consent to conduct a death scene investigation. Now, logically, no such thing exists. However, Mark didn't know this, so he agreed, thinking they were just making sure everything added up. With Mark's consent, investigators were able to take the Jensens' home computer into evidence. Remember, this was 1998. Only 1/3 of Americans had a computer at the time, and fewer than 1 in 5 households had internet access. So for Bob, this was actually a flash of genius. He had never even seen a computer at a crime scene, but he looked at it and realized he could possibly contain incriminating information from it. Now, interestingly, Julie had left him a clue to that effect. In her letter, she wrote that Mark was, quote, an avid surfer of the internet. Now, this might have seemed like an aside to an uninformed reader, but to someone who knew what they were looking for, Julie was basically saying, hey, if I die, please check my husband's search history. And Bob was determined to do so. So he and his team set out to investigate Julie's death as a homicide. And meanwhile, Mark did remain a free man, and he went straight on rebuilding his life without Julie. A couple days after her death, he asked a colleague if it would be okay for him to take his lover, Kelly, to his wife's wake. Colleague was like, no, you can't take your affair partner to your wife's wake. So he took the advice and went solo, but he spent a lot of it laughing and joking next to Julie's casket. A few days later, another neighbor of the Jensens noticed several large trash bags out on the street for pickup. This neighbor actually took a closer look and realized these trash bags were full of Julie's possessions. Mark was already erasing his wife's existence, and he was doing so with incredible speed. Now, meanwhile, the investigation was slowing down to basically a snail's pace. It took weeks for
Oh.
investigators to get a toxicology report,
Ha.
and when they did, there was basically nothing on it.
Huh.
Most of what we know about
Cute.
toxicology testing comes from film and TV.
Jesus Christ.
Detectives find a body, and Emmy does an autopsy. They say something like tox report shows the Vic had opioids in the system. It all happens within the space of like 2 minutes on screen, but in reality, forensic toxicology tests take a lot longer than that. Days, weeks, even months.
I mean,
The
a
way
lot
they
of
work is a
forensics
pathologist
shit
collects
takes
samples
a
from the
while.
body. This could include blood, urine, tissues from the liver, kidney, brain, and vitreous humor, which is the
Gotta be
jelly
careful
behind
with
the
it.
eyeball. It might
Sometimes
also
you can only do
include
it once.
stomach contents and bile, and all these samples are placed in secure containers to prevent loss or contamination. They are then transferred to a certified specialist for testing. And meanwhile, investigators are supposed to be doing field research. This means searching the scene of the crime for anything that might be in the victim's system, like prescription or illegal drugs, environmental toxins, household chemicals. Now, unfortunately for the Jensen investigation, the detective in charge of this task didn't do a very thorough job of this initially, and as a result, experts only tested for certain substances at first, and they didn't find anything unexpected. But District Attorney Bob didn't give up. By now, he had seen Julie's letter. He'd also heard about the stalker, and he remained convinced that Mark was behind this entire thing, from stalking and making Julie's life hell early on. So he pressed for additional testing, and months later, results came back showing ethylene glycol in Julie's system.
Oh.
As we already mentioned, this is the main ingredient in antifreeze. It was also one of the chemicals Mark told his buddy, Ed, he could use to murder his spouse. Now, unfortunately, Ed had not come forward yet to share this conversation with investigators, even though Mark's wife had turned up dead. And it was generally accepted by law enforcement at the time that most deaths caused by this were suicide. This might actually be one of the reasons it was featured on the DIY murder sites that Mark liked. So despite his hunch, Bob couldn't rule out the possibility with this tox report that Julie had indeed taken her own life. Even so, he and his team kept digging. Years passed. Mark kept on living his best life. He actually proposed to his lover, Kelly, in 2002. They married, and that same year, however, things finally came together in the investigation. Detectives now had the full toxicology report, and they also had computer forensics showing that someone had searched on the Jensen's computer for poison. They also had testimony from a number of witnesses, including Julie's neighbors, and the medical examiner had provided telling details. The autopsy had initially stated that her cause of death was undetermined. But after further investigation, especially noticing the position of Julie's arm under her body and some internal bruising in the rib area, the ME had determined that Julie died of ethylene glycol poisoning and asphyxiation.
Ouch.
So in other words, yes, she had been poisoned, but she had also been suffocated, probably by someone rolling her over and shoving her face into a pillow. Now, with all this ammunition, Bob and his team finally felt they could get a conviction. So on March 19th, 2002, 3.5 years after Julie's death, Mark was arrested and charged with first-degree intentional homicide. And as we've seen, prosecutors did have a lot to go.
Okay, wait. Okay, why did you have to put first degree intentional? Isn't first degree, or is that just meditated if it's first degree murder? Would that mean that intentional and meditated is a different thing? What the fuck? Okay, it's fine.
Go on. But their key piece of evidence was actually Julie's letter,
Mm.
and that soon became a problem. Mark's attorneys argued that the letter was hearsay, and allowing it in trial would be a violation of his Sixth Amendment rights.
How?
Now, the Sixth Amendment is the one that guarantees a right to a fair trial, a lawyer, an impartial jury, and the right of defendants to face their accusers. Now, since Julie had passed away, it obviously wasn't possible for Mark to face her in court, so his attorneys argued the letter was inadmissible. Bob and his team, on the other hand, felt that Julie's letter was essential to their case because it demonstrated her state of mind prior to her death.
She knew that she was
was
going to get
going
murdered.
to be really important to counter the defense's argument that Julie had taken her own life. So the teams of lawyers actually went back and forth on this for years. And during that time, Mark remained free on bail. He and his new wife, Kelly, had a kid. Mark and Julie's sons were encouraged to see their father as innocent. In 2004, however, Mark was put behind bars to await trial. And 4 years later, in 2008, he got his day in court. Proceedings began on January 7th, over 9 years after Julie's.
Sorry, having to wait 4 years in jail just for your day in court or your trial. Holy shit.
Death. The
Oh
trial
my
lasted
God.
7 weeks.
What?
And
Oh,
during that time, the jurors heard all the evidence we've discussed,
damn.
as well as testimony from one of Mark's fellow inmates. Now, the jailhouse snitch, as some officials called him, said Mark had told him about the murder in detail while they were incarcerated together. He said, the morning of December 3rd, 1998, according to Mark, he gave Julie some orange juice mixed with antifreeze to drink. He then left the house waiting for the poison to take its course. But when he came home later, he discovered she was still breathing. So he rolled her over and sat on her back, pressing her face into the pillow, getting her arm stuck. Mark's attorneys, of course, said the inmate was making this up to get a lighter sentence, but the prosecution pointed out that Julie's manner of death was actually not public knowledge. So the only way Mark's inmate would have known that Julie was suffocated to death and not poisoned to death was if whoever had killed her had informed him. Even still, it wasn't the inmate's testimony that convinced the jurors. When deliberation began, they were split. 5 jurors believed Mark was guilty and 5 thought he was innocent and 2 were undecided. So they spent days reviewing the evidence, and ultimately, Julie's own letter was what helped them decide. On February 21st, 2008, the jury declared Mark guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, Julie's family and friends were elated. They thought this long nightmare was finally over, but sadly for them,
Wrong.
this was only an intermission. One of the reasons Mark's first trial was actually delayed so long initially was the legal battle over whether Julie's letter could be admitted. And after Mark was convicted and they learned the jury really relied on this letter, this fight continued. And in 2013, Mark and his attorneys scored a major blow. A U.S. district judge agreed to hear Mark's appeal, and he ruled that Julie's letter did indeed violate Mark's Sixth Amendment rights because
What?
he couldn't question her about it.
No.
He
Hello?
vacated Mark's conviction and ordered him released within 90 days. In the meantime, the state of Wisconsin appealed, and they got the conviction reinstated. So once again, the two sides went back and forth for more years. Mark would win an appeal, the state would win their appeal of his appeal, until finally, in March of 2021, this is 12 years after Julie's death, the Wisconsin Supreme Court decided the letter could not be used as evidence and ordered a retrial. This might sound like double jeopardy when
Are
a
you
person is tried
serious?
twice for the same crime. There's a law against this in the United States, but in this case, it's allowed because it's more like a do-over. The Supreme Court found that the entire trial was invalid due to the admission of the letter, so they needed to do a new trial without it. Prosecutors were very disappointed that they would have to try the case again, but they had other evidence that hadn't been available the first time around.
Oh!
Remember the home computer Bob, the district attorney, had confiscated? Now, over the years, investigators' abilities to glean intel from computers improved. So by
Right.
2021, they now had a key piece of evidence that they didn't have during the first trial. And that was they could prove Mark was Julie's stalker.
Oh!
He had been tormenting her for years before her death. All those years that she'd been receiving creepy pictures, phone calls, and emails, Julie had been documenting. Computer forensic specialists were now able to determine that Mark had created a fake email address and was sending emails with pornographic attachments to himself, pretending it was harassment. They also had additional evidence that Mark had been running searches for things like poisoning, antifreeze, and physician-assisted suicide in the months leading up to Julie's death. Finally, they also now had testimony from Ed, Mark's coworker, whom he'd told about his plans to murder Julie almost 15 years earlier. Now, on January 11th, 2023, Mark's retrial began. On February 1st, he was convicted of murder a second time. And on April 14th, he was once again sentenced to life in prison without the possibility
Thank
of parole.
God, Jesus.
And this time his conviction was accomplished without the use of Julie's letter. It's safe to say, however, that investigators might never have gotten that far without it because of Julie's diligence and unwavering effort. Her family finally got the closure they needed. And it's heartbreaking to think that she had to work so hard to put her own killer behind bars. But thanks to her efforts, as well as those of the prosecutors and the witnesses, we hope that Julie can now rest in peace.
Okay, that's still so crazy to me though, because like I understand the Sixth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment thing, but what? Oh my god, we can't use this letter because it violates his Sixth Amendment because he can't question about the letter. But then that just proves that it's first-degree murder. Because she knew it was gonna happen. Someone's not just gonna be like, oh yeah, my husband might murder me, so I might just write this letter and be like, hey, if I turn up murder, it's him. Probably. What? She knew it was gonna happen. Are you shitting me? I'm like, that just proves that it's first-degree murder. First-degree murder is meditated murder? Or I guess intentional in this place. But like, oh my god. Oh my god, dude. Fuck. Fuck, man. Fuck. Basil? That's crazy. Basil. Whoops, that's the wrong one. He left the server. Okay. I do fear that is going to be the end of stream. There might be one later. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. I was gonna say it depends, but I don't know what it depends on. Depends on how I feel. Fireside will happen sometime. Probably tomorrow. Possibly. Most likely. Everybody have a great night. Go eat. Go sleep. Go hydrate. Do everything you can to keep yourself up to 100%. So, have a great night, everybody. Have a great night. Good night. Love and appreciate you guys. Love and appreciate. Thank you. Thank you.